Junie B. Jones and the Stupid Smelly Bus by Barbara Park. Chapter 1. Meeting Mrs. My name is Junie B. Jones. The B stands for Beatrice, except I don't like Beatrice. I just like B, and that's all. I'm almost 6 years old. Almost 6 is when you get to go to kindergarten. Kindergarten is where you go to meet new friends and not watch TV. My kindergarten is the afternoon kind. Today was my first day of school. I've been to my room before, though last week Mother took me there to meet my teacher. It was called Meet the Teacher Day. My teacher was decorating the bulletin board with the letters of the alphabet. I already know all those letters, I said. I can sing them, except I don't feel like it right now. My teacher shook my hand, only our hands didn't fit together that good. Her name was Mrs. I can't remember the rest of it. Mrs. said I looked cute. I know, I said. That's because I have on my new shoes. I held my foot way high in the air. See how shiny they are? Before I put them on, I licked them. And guess what else, I said. This is my bestest hat. Grandpa Miller bought it for me. See the devil's horns sticking out the sides? Mrs. laughed. Except I don't know why. Devil horns are supposed to be scary. Then we walked around the room and she showed me where stuff was, like the easels where we get to paint and the shelves where the books are, and the tables where we sit and don't watch TV. One of the tables in front of the room had a red chair. I would like to sit here, I think, I told her. But Mrs. said, we'll have to wait and see, Junie. B, I said, call me Junie B. I hollered the B part real loud so she wouldn't forget it. People are always forgetting my B. Mother rolled her eyes and looked at the ceiling. I looked up there too, but I didn't see anything. Are you going to ride the bus, Junie B? Mrs. asked me. I made my shoulders go up and down. I don't know. Where is it going to? My mother nodded her head and said, yes, she'll be riding the bus. That made me feel real scary inside, 'cause I never rided a bus before. Yeah, only where's it going to? I asked again. Mrs. sat on her desk. Then she and my mother talked more about the bus. I tapped on Mrs. Guess what? I still don't know where it's going to. Mrs. smiled and said the bus driver's name was Mr. Wu. Mr. Wu, said Mother. That's an easy name for Junie B to remember. I covered my ears and stamped my foot. Yeah, only where's the stupid smelly bus going to? Mother and Mrs. frowned. Frowning is when your eyebrows look grumpy. Watch yourself, Missy, said Mother. Missy's my name when I'm in trouble. I looked down at my shoes. They didn't look as shiny as they did before. Just then, another mother and a boy came in, and Mrs. went off to talk to them instead of me. I don't know why, though. The boy was hiding behind his mother and acting very babyish. I can beat that boy up, I think. After that, my mother sat me down and explained about the bus. She said it's yellow, and it's called a school bus, and it stops at the end of my street. Then I get on it and sit down, and it takes me to school. And then your teacher will meet you in the parking lot, said Mother. Okay, Junie B, won't that be fun? I nodded the word yes, but inside my head, I said the word no. Chapter 2. Feeling Squeezy. I stayed scared about the bus for a whole week. And last night, when my mother tucked me into bed, I still felt sickish about it. Guess what, I said. I don't think I want to ride that school bus to kindergarten tomorrow. Then my mother rumpled my hair. Oh, sure you do, she said. Oh, sure I don't, I said back. Then Mother kissed me and said, it'll be fun, you'll see, just don't worry. I did though. I worried very much, and I didn't sleep so good either. And this morning, I felt very droopy when I got up, and my stomach was squeezy, and I couldn't eat my cereal. And so I watched TV until Mother said it was time to get ready to go. Then I put on my skirt that looks like velvet, and my new fuzzy pink sweater, and I ate half a tuna sandwich for lunch. After that, Mother and I walked to the corner to wait for the bus. And guess what? There was another mother and a little girl there too. The little girl had curly black hair, which is my favorite kind of head. I didn't say hello to her though, 'cause she was from a different street, that's why. Then finally this big yellow bus came around the corner, and the brakes screeched very loud, and I had to cover my ears. Then the door opened, and the bus driver said, Hi, I'm Mr. Wu. Hop on. Except I didn't hop on, 'cause my legs didn't want to. I don't think I want to ride this bus to kindergarten, I told Mother again. Then she gave me a little push. Go on, Junie B, she said. Mr. Wu is waiting for you. Be a big girl and get on. I looked up at the windows. The little girl with the curly black hair was already in the bus. She looked very big sitting up there and kind of happy. Look how big that little girl is acting, Junie B, said Mother. Why don't you sit right next to her? It'll be fun, I promise. And so I got on the bus, and guess what? It wasn't fun. Chapter 3. The Stupid Smelly Bus. The bus wasn't like my daddy's car at all. It was very big inside, and the seats didn't have any cloth on them. The little curly girl was sitting near the front, and so I tapped on her. Guess what? I said. Mother said for me to sit here. No, she said. I'm saving the seat for my best friend, Mary Ruth Marble. Then she put her little white purse on the place where I was going to sit, and so I made a face at her. Hurry up and find a seat, young lady, said Mr. Wu. And so I quick sat down across from the curly mean girl, and Mr. Wu shut the door. It wasn't a regular kind of door, though. It folded in half, and when it closed, it made a wishy sound. I don't like that kind of door. If it closes on you by accident, it will cut you in half, and you will make a squishy sound. The bus made a big roar. Then a big puff of black, smelly smoke came out the bayed end of it. It's called bus breath, I think. Mr. Wu drove for a while. Then the brakes made that loud, screechy noise again. I covered my ears so it couldn't get inside my head. 'Cause if loud, screechy noises get inside your head, you have to take an aspirin. I saw that on a TV commercial. Then the bus door opened again, and a dad and a boy with a grouchy face got on. The dad smiled. Then he plopped the grouchy boy right next to me. This is Jim, he said. I'm afraid Jim isn't too happy this afternoon. The dad kissed the boy goodbye, but the boy wiped it off his cheek. Jim had on a backpack. It was blue. I love backpacks. I wish I had one of my very own. One time I found a red one in a trash can, but it had a little bit of gushy on it, and Mother said no. Jim's backpack had lots of zippers. I touched each one of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, I counted. Then I unzipped one. Hey, don't, yelled Jim. He zipped it right up again. Then he moved to the seat in front of me. I hate that Jim. After that, the bus kept stopping and starting, and lots of kids kept getting on, loud kids, and some of them were the kinds who looked like meanies. Then the bus began getting very noisy and hot inside, and the sun kept shining down on me and my fuzzy hot sweater. And here's another hot thing. I couldn't roll down my window because it didn't have a handle, and so I just kept getting hotter and hotter. And it smelled in the bus, too. The bus smelled like an egg salad sandwich. I want to get off of here, I said right out loud, but nobody heard me. I hate it in this stupid smelly bus. Then my eyes got a little bit wet. I wasn't crying, though, 'cause I'm not a baby. That's why. After that, my nose started running. Only the bus didn't have a glove compartment, which is where you keep the travel tissues, of course. And so I had to wipe my nose on my fuzzy pink sweater sleeve. Then I stayed on the bus for about an hour or 3, until finally I saw a flagpole and a playground. That meant we were at kindergarten. Then Mr. Wu drove the bus into the parking lot and stopped. I jumped up very fast, 'cause all I wanted to do was get off that stupid smelly thing. Only guess what? That Jim pushed right in front of me, and the curly mean girl did too. And then people started squishing me real tight, and so I pushed them away, and they pushed me right back. That's when I fell down, and a big foot stepped on my skirt that looked like velvet. Stop it, I yelled. Then Mr. Wu hollered, hey, 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 and he picked me up and helped me off the bus. Mrs. was waiting for me just like my mother said. Hi, I'm glad to see you, she called. Then I ran over to her, and I showed her the big footprint on my skirt that looks like velvet. Yeah, only look what happened. I got stepped on, and so now I'm soiled. Mrs. brushed it off. Don't worry, Junie, she said. It'll come off. After that, I just folded my arms and made a frown. 'Cause guess what? She forgot my B again. Chapter 4. Me and Lucille and some other kids. Some of the other bus kids turned out to be in my class too. One of them was that Jim I hate. Mrs. made us line up, then we followed her to our room. Its name is Room 9. There were other kids waiting by the door. When Mrs. unlocked it, everyone squeezed in all at once. That Jim stepped on my new shoe. He made a scratch mark on my shiny toe, the kind of scratch that licking won't fix. "Hey, watch it, you dumb Jim," I hollered at him. Mrs. bent down next to me. "Let's try to use our quiet voice while we're in school," she said. I nodded nicely. "I hate that Jim," I said in my quiet voice. After that, Mrs. clapped her hands together very loud. "I want everyone to find a chair and sit down as fast as you can," she said. That's when I ran to the table with the red chair. Only guess what? There was already someone sitting there, a girl with little red fingernails. And so I tapped on her and said, "I would like to sit here, I think." "No," she said, "I am." "Yeah, only I already picked that chair out," I told her. "Ask my mother if you don't believe me." But the girl just shook her head no. And then Mrs. clapped her hands loud again and said, "Please find a seat." And so then I had to quick sit down in a stupid yellow chair, the same stupid color as the same stupid yellow bus. After that, Mrs. walked to the big closet in the back of the room. It's called the supply closet. She got out boxes of new pointy crayons and some white circles. Then she passed them out, and we had to paint our names on the circles and pin them to our fronts. It was our first work. "If you need help spelling your name, raise your hand," said Mrs. I raised my hand. "I don't need help," I told her. "Grandma Miller said I print beautifully." I used red, and then a mistake happened. I made my Junie too big, and there wasn't any room left for my B. And so I had to squish it in very teeny at the bottom. "I hate this stupid dumb circle," I hollered. Mrs. made the shh sound and gave me a new one. "Thank you," I said nicely. "Grandma Miller said I print beautifully." The girl with the little red fingernails was faster than me. She showed me her circle and pointed to her letters. Lucille. "That spells Lucille," she said. "I like that name Lucille," I said. "'Cause guess why? Seals are my favorite animals. That's why." Then Mrs. passed out drawing paper, and we drew pictures of our family. Mrs. put a happy face sticker on mine. It was very good, except I made my father too teeny and my mother's hair look like sticks. After that, Mrs. took our class on a walk around the school. Everyone had to find a buddy to walk with. My buddy was Lucille. We held hands. The boy I can beat up was right in front of us. His buddy was that Jim I hate. The first place we walked to was called the Media Center. My mother calls it a library. It's where the books are. And guess what? Books are my very favorite things in the whole world. "Hey, there's a jillion of them in there," I hollered, feeling very excited. "I think I love this place." The librarian bent down next to me. She said to use my quiet voice. "Yeah, only guess what? Right now, I just like the kind of books with pictures. But Mother says when I get big, I'm going to like the kind with just words. And also stewed tomatoes." The boy I can beat up said, "Shh." I made a fist at him. Then he turned around. After that, we went to the cafeteria. The cafeteria is where kids eat lunch, except not when you're in kindergarten. I said, "It smells yummy in here, just like spaghetti and meatballs." Then that Jim turned around and held his nose. "P.U. I smell you," he said. Lucille laughed very hard, and so I stopped her holding her hand. The next place we went was the nurse's office. It was very cute in that place. There are 2 little beds where you get to lie down, and 2 little blankets that are the color of plaid. Our nurse doesn't look like a nurse. She doesn't wear white clothes and white shoes. Our nurse is just a regular color. Lucille raised her hand. "My brother said that last year he came here and you let him take off his shoes, and he got a drink of water and just his socks." Then Jim turned around again. "P.U. I smell your feet," he said to Lucille. This time, Lucille stuck out her tongue at him. After that, we held hands again. Chapter 5. Principal. After we left the nurse, we went to the main office. That's where the boss of the school lives. His name is Principal. Principal is a baldy. He talked to us. Then Lucille raised her hand. My brother said last year he had to come down here and you yelled at him, and now he's not allowed to beat up kids at recess anymore. Principal kind of laughed, then he held the door for us to leave. After that, we walked to the water fountain, and Mrs. let us get a drink. I didn't get a long one, though, 'cause kids kept tapping on me. "Hurry up, girl," they said. "Yeah, only guess what? That's not even my name," I told them. "Her name is Junie Bumblebee," said Lucille. Then she laughed. I didn't think it was a very funny joke. After that, Mrs. showed us where the bathrooms were. There's 2 kinds of bathrooms in our school, a boys' kind and a girls' kind. I can't go in the boys' kind, though, 'cause no girls allowed. That's why. I tried to peek my head in there, but Mrs. snapped her fingers at me. The only boy who got to go into the bathroom was the boy I can beat up. He was jiggling around very much. Then he started running all over the place, and he was holding the front of his pants. "William," said Mrs., "are you having an emergency?" Then William said, "Yes," and he ran right in there. The rest of us walked back to our room. I touched Lucille's fingernails. She said that her fingernail polish is named Very, Very Berry. "I would like to have my fingernails red too," I said, "but I'm only allowed to have the kind of polish that makes them look shiny. Its name is Clear. Clear is the color of spit." "I hate clear," said Lucille. "Me too," I told her. "And also I hate yellow, which is the color of the Stupid Smelly School Bus." Lucille nodded her head. My brother said when you ride home on the bus, kids pour chocolate milk on your head. Then all of a sudden my stomach felt very squeezy again, 'cause I had to ride the bus home. That's why. "Why did you have to tell me that, Lucille?" I said kind of grouchy. After we got back to room 9, we did some more work. It was a game to help us learn each other's names. I learned Lucille, and also a girl named Charlotte, and another girl named Grace. Then I learned a boy named Hammed, which we eat at Grandma's Miller's. Pretty soon, Mrs. clapped her loud hands together. "Okay, everyone, gather up your things. It's almost time for the bell." Then I heard a noise in the parking lot. It was screechy brakes, and so I looked out the window and I saw the school bus. It was coming to get me. "Oh no," I said kind of loud. "Now I'm going to get chocolate milk poured on my head." Then I chewed on my fingers. Get in line," said Mrs. "When we get outside, I want all of my bus students to come with me. The rest of you must go to the crossing guard." Everyone was lining up. I was the very last one. Just then, the bell rang, and Mrs. marched out the door. Then everybody else marched out too. Except, guess what? I didn't. Chapter 6. A Good Hider. When you're the very last one in line, nobody watches you. That's how come nobody saw me when I ducked behind the teacher's desk and hid. I'm a good hider. One time at Grandma Miller's house, I hid under the kitchen sink. Then I made a growly sound and sprung out at her. I'm not allowed to do that anymore. Anyway, I stayed scrunched behind the teacher's desk for a while, and then I saw a better place to hide. It was the big supply closet in the back of the room. And so I ran back there very fast, and I squeezed onto the bottom shelf. I squeezed right on top of the construction paper. Most of me was comfortable, except my head was sort of very tight, and my knees were all bent, like when I do a somersault. Then I pulled the door mostly closed. "Don't shut it all the way though, and I mean it," I said right out loud. I stayed real quiet for lots of minutes. Then I heard noises in the hall, and some feet came running into the room. Big people's feet, I think. "What happened?" I heard someone ask. "One of my little girls is lost," said a voice that sounded like Mrs. "Her name is Junie B. Jones, and she didn't get on the bus, so now we got to go looking for her." Then I heard some keys jingle, and the feet went running out again, and men shut the door. I still didn't come out the closet though. When you're a good hider, you can't come out for a very, very long time. I just stayed there all bended up. And I told myself a story, not an out loud story. I just told it inside my head. It was called The Little Hiding Girl. I made it up, and this is how it went. Once upon a time, there was a little hiding girl. She was in a secret spot where nobody could find her, except her head was very tight and her brain was squishing out. But she still couldn't come out of her spot, or a smelly yellow monster would get her, and also some meanies with chocolate milk. The end. After that, I rested my eyes. Resting your eyes is what my grandma does when she watches TV after dinner. Is what my grandpa does when he watches TV after dinner. Then he snores, and Grandma Miller says, "Go to bed, Frank." It's not the same thing as a nap, though, 'cause naps are for babies. That's why. And anyway, I didn't snore. I just did a little drool. Then finally, when my eyes were done resting, they woke up. And so I came out of the closet and ran right to the window. And guess what? There weren't any cars in the parking lot, and no stupid smelly bus either. Whew, that's a relief, I said. A relief is when your stomach doesn't feel squeezy anymore. After that, I went back to the closet, 'cause while I was hiding, I sniffed the smell of clay. That's why. And clay is my very favorite thing in the whole world. "Hey, I see it up there," I said. The clay was on the middle shelf. I stood on the chair to get it. It was blue and stiff, and so I had to roll it on the floor to make it soft and warm. Then I rolled it into a blue orange. It was very beautiful, except it had some dirt and hair on it. After I was done, I went to the front of the room and sat down in my teacher's big chair. I like teacher's desk very much. The drawers are so big I could fit in one, I think. I opened up the top one. There were happy face stickers and rubber bands and also gold stars, which I love a very lot. I stuck one on my forehead. Then I found paper clips and red marking pens and new pencils with no points and scissors and travel tissues. And guess what else? Chalk, I said. Brand new chalk that's not even out of its little box yet. Then I stood up on my teacher's chair and clapped my hands together very loud. I want everyone to find a chair and sit down. Today we're going to learn some alphabet and some reading. And also I will teach you how to make a blue orange. But first, everyone has to watch me draw stuff. Then I went to the board and drew with my brand new chalk. I drew a bean and a carrot and some curly hair. Then I wrote some O's. O's are my bestest letter. After that, I bowed. "Thank you very much," I said. "Now you may all go out for recess." I smiled. Except for not that gem. To be continued.